There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to the Mental Funny Bone, Becoming the Gaster Girls. I'm Sarah.
That's my part.
Come on, I'm just trying to fucking get moving here. Like just
You
this
did my part.
I know, but I'm just trying. It's okay. We can do different things.
But I don't have my notes open.
God damn it. I don't have my notes open either. Hi. Welcome to the Mental Funny Bone. I'm Sarah. She's Christine. We're not doctors, but we're going to talk about mental health shit. Don't listen to us. Go seek professional help.
I think you're feeling a little chippy today.
I'm a little cranky.
Nobody notices.
Look at this. I need to carry downstairs all of my material.
Did you read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck? Oh, good.
That far into it. See where the page is?
Yeah, 4 pages. For since it's
A
a
lot.
since it's a talking medium, she's 4 pages into it.
Look, I'm on page 17. I marked off a lot of things, and I'm really going to finish it. However, who knew Nashville isn't a place where you read?
Everybody knew that.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's get into it. Let's go to weekly catch-up corner, and then we're gonna do a little growing up gaster story of the week.
Okay.
I know. It's gonna be about the separation. So, subtitled, "What happens when you don't realize you love your sister until she's not there?"
Oh my gosh, because I have a great story from the airplane last night that made me think of you.
Oh, no.
And it's about like our separation.
Cannot wait.
I
Also
don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be funny, but we'll talk about it.
also that breathing thing that your dad would do that told you he was mad without him actually yelling. We're gonna talk about that.
Some people would call that like a good way of coping with things, like he was, breathing and counting or doing something, but I'm not really sure that's where that came from.
No, I think it was a very clearly a place of anger.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we're gonna talk about the subtle art of not giving a fuck and how much I love this book and how
Which
surprising that is.
I'm mad that I didn't get to read it all, but I'm definitely going to read it all, but I'm super, super excited for you to talk about it.
And the good thing is there's a lot of it that ties back into what we were talking about last week, the FOPO, the Michael Gervais.
Ricky Gervais.
Oh, bless you.
Ooh, that's the first time that's happened, isn't it? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I burped very loudly. That was actually a very tiny, tiny, tiny little burp.
Tiny burp.
It's
Welcome.
brought to you by Canada Dry.
If Canada Dry wants to sponsor us, we're all about it. Please.
Send
Love
me a
it.
dollar, Canada Dry.
Oh no, you
Who makes
froze. You
Canada
look great
Dry?
though while
Who
you're
makes
frozen.
Canada Dry?
And I'm here by myself.
Can you hear me?
Coming back? There you are.
It's because I'm in the basement.
Do I look like I work in IT? Because I don't.
I do.
Maybe you should turn your computer off and turn it back on again. All right. So also, we're going to try to get into a little bit of ADHD 2.0 because again, there are a lot of tie-ins from this book to the other books that I've been reading. So I think as long as we can keep making these little connections, that our podcast will have a nice flow to it.
I like it.
So
You
there's no interview this week because we were busy and out of town and stuff.
We'll get there. We'll get to that whole thing.
All right. You hear how I gave myself real bad dry skin?
Yeah, give me that while I'm trying to figure out how to get you back on my screen.
So I was in the shower and I was feeling like a couple of little dry spots. And I was like, oh, you know what I need? I need like a good exfoliation of my skin. And I was like, I don't really have anything that's got, like what was the apricot scrub? St. Ives.
I love a St. Ives.
I
I
need
love
I need a little St. Ives to rub off like a
Mhm.
whole layer of skin, which I
Yeah.
don't think is really that great for your skin, but we used
Mm,
the hell out of that stuff when we were younger.
sure
Um,
did.
I didn't have any of that, but what I did have in the shower with me is a callus remover for my feet. Feel free to
I
react.
can't. I did. I stopped breathing.
I put that on my face and let it sit there for a little bit. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this'll peel off and my skin will be beautiful and refreshed and look amazing." And all it was I gave myself a chemical burn on my whole face. And what has happened twice since then is my entire face has peeled off. It starts off with, like, little red scaly patches, and then those expand, and eventually my whole layer of skin comes off. But that's happened twice, and I don't know how many more times it's gonna happen until we get to, like, the part where I haven't burned my face. Right, right. No, no, I have an advanced degree in mathematics. So, remember when we said I was the smart one? Like, we all agreed to it. I was the smart one. So that is why if you're looking on the video, there's this little red spot here, and all of this looks super jacked up here. Chemical
You
burn.
are the smartest.
Right.
Again. So, foot callus remover is what you used.
Yeah, yeah, like a horrible acid that you would put on your feet for those big, thick, nasty calluses, just to get a little exfoliation, not a chemical peel because I am a jackass and think I'm a lot smarter about things that I'm not smart about.
I mean, that's impressive.
Is it?
And I don't know what else to call it.
I think impressive sounds fine. I think that's great. All right. Will you tell me about how much you liked Nashville? Did you like Nashville? Because I love Nashville.
Nashville might, and it's going to shock people because I am not a fan of other people. I'm not a fan of crowds. In my older age, I'm not really a fan of loud places. But I guess when you know what you're getting into, like that's the whole thing. I don't know. But Nashville, it might be my new favorite place. Like I want to go back tomorrow.
Right.
Um, like right now, I want to go back. So last week I talked about being nervous about Nashville and my ability to enjoy Nashville because of my inability to make proper adult decisions when it comes to drinking alcohol. I am happy to report that I did not black out and I
Who's
did not have even the slightest inkling of a hangover the whole time I was there.
who's a big girl?
Applause to me. I'm so excited. Some of my friends made fun of me for a little bit, but it's okay. They got over it because I was still fun, Sarah.
Right.
I just wasn't drunk, falling down, blackout, Sarah.
Oh, and we like both of them. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was amazing when we first got there. We landed super early, and I was still on the Xanax. So all day, from the time we got there at 7 something in the morning till the time we went to bed, I had like 3 beers, but still had so much fun. We went to the Grand Old Opry.
was it great?
It was so fantastic. The guy sang the Green Crocodile and Long
Oh,
Neck
long neck geese.
Geese. Is it geese or goose or whatever? But yeah, and I kept going like this. And so he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "This is
Geese.
why you." Like my
Geese.
dad used to sing this. We used to sing this.
You know who else sang that song?
Ew.
The man at the Dubliner.
So hold up. Is
I
that what I remember it from then? Maybe not, Daddy?
think so, yeah.
Fuck.
Maybe both. Maybe both. I think maybe there's a little bit of cross recognition. Like, hey, I know this song. Do 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 long neck
Yeah, like,
geese.
I feel like we heard it in Arizona and tied it to Daddy at that point too.
Right. But you
But
go
yeah,
to
so that was a lot of fun, and then Vince Gill was there, which is kinda cool. Just the whole experience itself, just being there was really cool, and it's a lot of shit that's hard to explain if you're not there. Did you go there when you were in Nashville?
no, because there was so much free live music that it seemed
Mhm.
it seemed silly to go
Yeah.
someplace to listen to music.
You should go though. It's pretty cool. It's just all around a cool thing. So back to the free music, which is the best thing ever because you can just sit in a different bar all day long and listen to live music. And even if it's live music that you don't like, it's just such a fantastic experience. Like, I don't really like country. I like 90s country, which is also a great place to. Nashville is also awesome for the 90s country.
Right.
But that it's pretty amazing. On our way back to the hotel, we saw a guy fall in a bush, which was awesome because I was like, "Hey, look at that! It's not me! Yay again! Yay again!" There was a lot of funny stories to tell, but I can't even. Again, I
Right.
didn't prep all that well for today because I've been sleeping off my Xanax hangover all day. But yeah, I honestly can't wait to go back. My friend Shannon doesn't like country at all. She's a 80s rock girl, and she even loved it. There was a band there that basically that's all they played, and they're all just really fucking good bands.
Right.
And you can spend a shit ton of money because if you just take a picture of their Venmo thing, you can spend them $1 million fucking dollars all night and they'll play whatever. Like the
Right.
last night we were there, we were in the new Garth Brooks place, which was fantastic. And our group combined, I'm pretty sure spent $800 just on music. So you save free music.
I mean, if you're picky, it's not free. If you want to hear John Denver, then it's going to cost you. If you got to
A
hear
hundred
Garth Brooks,
dollars. We paid the band $100 to end the night at the Garth Brooks bar with Thunderstruck.
it's amazing. And the band will make fun of you. They're like, "Who in this crowd wanted us to play Take Me Home Country Roads? Who?"
Yeah, and they're like, "Yeah, no, pick something else." Like the last song, they're like, "All right, it's gonna be our last song," and like, "All right, we got $40 for Taylor Swift, we got $50 for Friends in Low Places," and Chris was like, "Fuck that, here's 100," and the guy was like, "All
Right.
right, we're playing whatever he wants. I don't know what he wants us to play, but we're figuring it out."
Right. I would like to hear Ludacris, please. Do you guys know any Wiz Khalifa? That band will play Wiz Khalifa if you tip them enough.
That's what I was like, "Poison, Bell Biv DeVoe, who's
They're
got
like, "No."
money?" But the one they were like, "All right, we've got a request for Disturbed," who I actually anyway. And so we're all like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hope it's the Disturbed song that I know." And they start playing, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually Simon and Garfunkel."
Right.
The Sound of Silence.
You guys, that's not it this
But they sang it like Disturbed, which is my favorite Disturbed song because he has an amazing voice, and the singer there did an amazing job, so it was really good. But like a lot of people were like, "Who the fuck requests Disturbed?" And then they started playing, and I was like, "Oh, Simon and Garfunkel. Okay, that
somebody
makes a little more sense."
somebody requested Simon and Garfunkel.
Like either way, kind of weird. Like I
But,
don't know.
like, time moves differently there. Like,
Oh dear lord.
I was like, how is it that I have been on Broadway for 12 hours and I
Mhm.
don't feel like going home yet? Like, I'm not ready." The
Yeah.
only time I wanted to leave Broadway was when everybody was on Broadway, and I'm like, "I can't, it's too crowded, I don't like it." But
Yeah,
you could go, like, 2
we did
blocks
a bar crawl.
Oh, was that fun while it was crowded?
No.
Oh,
Well, mostly it wasn't fun because you were, like, in this group and you had X amount of minutes in each bar, and, I mean, our lady who led us around, AJ, she was fucking fantastic, I loved her. However, we're the oldest ones in the group, of course, and just trying and we were supposed to get a shot at every place, and they were really just giving us Powerade shots, I'm pretty sure.
right, they're like,
Like, we'd shoot them, be like, "Yeah, that
"Old
was that
folks,
was some Gatorade."
old
So,
folks,
if
no."
can you put some vodka in there? We'll take some of the vodka, please.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so drinks are expensive and kind of watered down depending on where you were, I guess. But our other buddy, Jim, he did it right. He's like, "I'm not ordering fucking mixed drinks. I'm just ordering straight bourbon and sipping on that because at least I know I'm getting the fucking booze."
Right.
Yeah.
Alright.
We did not leave Nashville last night until like almost 8 o'clock, which is dumb planning on my part. I thought, we'll just have one more day to kind of,
Mm.
no, that's dumb. You're done. You're done. 3 days is actually good. Like whatever day you decide to leave, leave in the morning.
I do like, I always do that. Like, even when Nani and I went to visit Liv, so your mother and I, and
Yeah.
we set ourselves up to leave Sunday morning because every time I do it, I'm like, "Oh, no, we wanna maximize the time we're there." But really,
Right.
all I'm thinking about is we gotta make a plane, and
Right.
especially when I leave Liv, I'm already sad. So now I'm, like, buying her groceries,
Right.
crying in the Harris Teeter. Like, no one wants to see that.
Very
He
tea.
doesn't wanna see that.
Yeah, it's dumb. I mean, we enjoyed yesterday, like, we got to walk around Broadway a little bit, but it was the heat, it was like the surface of the sun.
Yeah,
So it was really fucking hot, and we had stuffed ourselves so full of food and alcohol that it was just really hard to enjoy ourselves sober yesterday.
right, right. Yeah, I get that.
So I highly suggest just getting out of Dodge as early as you can when it's time to leave. That was not the smartest move. But other than that, everything we did was pretty fucking awesome, except for Tootsie's asshole.
Why, you didn't like it? Why not?
We went there after the bar crawl, and I was like, my sister said we got to go to Tootsie's.
Did you go
First of all,
to Tippy
it
Top?
was it was late in the evening, so it was jam packed. And I say
Oh,
late
yeah.
in the evening, like for us, it's late at night. Like it's
It was like
like
10.
11 ish, like 10, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the bar crawl didn't start till 8. I was like, "Did they not have a geriatric bar crawl that starts at, like, 2 in the afternoon?" I don't
2 in
fucking
the evening.
understand. But, yes, we probably made it to Tootsie's, like, 10-ish, 11-ish. So, there was a lot of fucking people there. We went up to the top, but there were too many people there, so we decided to go back down to the middle. There was a live band there, of course, and they sucked. Like, they were the only band that I was like, "This is it karaoke?" I was pretty sure it wasn't karaoke.
Oh, no.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, it was bad. So,
I
Tootsie's was the only bad experience that we had. And when I say bad, they still had alcohol there, so it was fine. We just stayed for a few less drinks than we would have normally.
I appreciated the double middle finger picture too. That kinda conveyed your displeasure with my suggestion. Yeah,
Mhm.
you kinda gotta get there just before the band's coming on and get yourself a good, like, slot, like,
Yeah,
someplace where you can still get beer and get back in your seat and be close enough to, be throwing up the devil horns or the I love
right,
yous, like, whatever we
right,
do to live music,
right.
where you can
And
show the band.
that was my that's that.
Do you wanna
That
hear about your mother's trip to Raleigh?
Yeah, I would.
All right, so picture it. Sicily. No, just kidding. Picture it. It is windy and rainy when we get on the plane in Pittsburgh. And
I know. I flew the day after you guys, and she doesn't have Xanax.
no, she just has me. And basically, I'm just making fun of her the whole time. Here's what happened. She runs into somebody she knows at the airport. Swear to God. Swear to God. We're at the American counter. We're getting all checked in. I'm like, Nina, we're first class. So, the lady gives her a first class boarding pass, like a incredible document. She's like, here you are, ma'am. She's holding it, giving it to her on like a platter because we're in first class. So yeah, we get Nina all squared away.
The silver tray platter of your first class ticket.
Right.
And
Right.
just so you know, I'm gonna be muting intermittently because I'm gonna be eating these delicious pita chips.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll
Okay.
talk for a little bit here. And we figure out where she can keep her vape because it isn't in your checked luggage, it's in your carry-on. So she's all Twitter pated because there are 0 people behind us and she's just apologizing. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." I'm like, "It mom, it's there's no one here. It's just the 3 of us. It's me, you, and this lady, and she's getting paid either way." So we get that all squared away. We're walking towards TSA. And one of the most adorable things your mom said to me is, "What's TSA?" I'm like, "It's security." Mom, it's just security. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know." I haven't
Oh, she's
flown
like
since
Travis Kelce too.
right. Your mom's Travis Kelce. She's like, "I haven't flown since before 9/11."
Listen, I don't think I know what TSA stands for. Travel security.
Can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you too. Nobody knows what TSA stands for.
I
That's
know
just a
it's security.
security.
I know where it is in the airport. Yeah, but your mom hasn't flown since before 9/11. I was like, "Wait a minute. Have you taken your shoes off in the airport?" She's like, "Oh, yeah." I'm
Yeah,
like,
you've definitely flown since
yeah.
9/11,
She's like,
mom.
"Oh, I can't remember." But anyway, so we're walking down towards TSA, and another lady working at the American counter looks over at your mom and me and says, "Hey, I know you." And I'm like, "You have gotta be shitting me," is what I said out loud in the airport. Yeah, sure enough, it's Ron and Cecilia's daughter, Denise. Right.
So
Right.
you
Like,
I don't understand.
right.
I do not understand.
I don't get it either. It's not like she goes a lot of places. It's
Right.
not she's involved in a lot of civic
No.
things.
She
She
doesn't travel a lot. She hasn't belonged to a group since PTA. I mean, I don't fucking get it.
everywhere. And so, yeah, like luckily your mom made me go to the airport 3 hours early.
Damn right. I go to the airport 3 hours early.
And I tried to explain to her that I have a sheet, like a Google sheet to tell me a Google sheet entitled airport math that tells me when I need to be to the airport. And I'm like, it says, she's like, let's leave at 1:30. I'm like,
Nope.
okay.
I'm with her on this one. I'm with her on this one because getting to the airport, getting through security makes me feel much better about everything.
Right. Also fine. Yeah, it's fine, fine. Ooh, park at Charlie Brown. Come on over. So she knows Denise. We're talking to Denise.
You don't know, Denise?
Cecilia, I don't know if you remember Cecilia, two older Italian ladies that would often show up at Libertini gatherings.
Oh, so it's a Denbo
Right.
Brownsville. Okay.
Yep. It's a family connection. Her dad, like both the dads know each other, or cousins or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, they know each other from way back. So,
Wow.
like the nice thing is we go down, we get through security right away because we're first class. Her mom's joking with the TSA people. I was like, don't.
TSA people don't like to be joked with.
And she's doing the adorable Anita thing where she pretends to be stupid.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good one.
Oh, she's acting like Aunt Bethany from
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should say it.
Yeah.
Is your house on fire, Clark? Anyway, she's just the cutest. So we get her in the airplane, we get her in first class, and she sits in the seat and she looks so tiny.
She's just tiny little nunny in the biggie chair.
So cute. And it was horrible. It was a terrible experience from start to finish. It's raining. It's windy. We take off. We're doing this.
Was
We
it a rough
back and
so it
forth.
was a rough flight, like for real
Oh,
though?
right. It was one of the roughest I've been on, and I've
I
flown.
would have lost my fucking shit.
And she's like, "Hey, just keep talking to me." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, yeah, no. Once we're up in the air, we're just flying. Sure, we get up in the air, and it's doing that thing where you're just going along, and then the bottom drops out, and then
Oh, my
right.
favorite. Oh, poor Nunny, I wanna
I
cry
was like,
for her.
it's okay."
Oh.
I know. I was like, "It's okay. Like, listen, I know that it seems bad, but we only have 20 minutes left in the flight because it's a really quick flight."
Yeah.
So, worst landing ever. Like, we Captain Kangarooed it to the gate. Like, we were bouncing, boom, boom, and then he's like, "Well, thank God that's over." Right.
Well,
Thank
we'll
God.
get to do it again in a day.
Right. And then we have to get an Uber. And
Oh god. This is
I
definitely Nunny's first Uber experience for sure.
I adore everything about your mom because she's like, she wants you to go first so she
Mhm.
can watch what you do and then just copy.
Right?
But she's old and slow. So I
We
would go first, and then I spend the whole time looking over my shoulder to
yeah.
check and make sure she's okay.
She needs a fucking leash, like a little bear backpack.
"Are you all right?" Like, the whole time, I'm like, "Are you with me?" And she's just meandering, you know.
Ta 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 da 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 da.
Mom, get across the street, and she's like, "Go ahead."
No. With her vape. Oh, I was definitely vape Nita in Nashville, just so you know.
It was so sweet. Liv is not having the best time, so it was a well-timed visit, I feel like.
Fun.
And Nunny didn't wanna do anything. She was happy. We watched 3
Mhm.
seasons of The Great British Baking Show.
That's a lot of fucking seasons of that show. Were
Right.
you in a hotel or were you in an Airbnb?
Airbnb, a little apartment. I had to work on Friday, so we got there Thursday, and the idea was we were gonna go see Liv's soccer game, but it was 2 hours
Yeah.
away.
Oh.
I was like, "What is it?" Yeah, she's like, "Oh, it's in Virginia." I was like, "No, no, we're here." So poor planning on our part. But we went to the bridal shower and that was adorable. So cute. Everybody looked great. Yvonne and Mike are the nicest people. Lizzie and
For real.
Katie are
Legit.
Lizzie and
Leg-
Katie are so cute. The new baby is adorable.
Oh
So it
yeah,
was,
new baby.
and he's just so pleasant. So pleasant. He's got little hearing aids and he's got a cap, a
Oh my
pilot cap
god.
to keep the hearing aids in.
Shut your mouth.
It's so cute. I almost died.
Aw, what a sweet
Almost
pea. When
died.
did you guys come home?
We came home Sunday morning. So Liv stayed with us on Saturday night and took us to the airport at like 7 a.m. We were safe at home at noon.
Yeah,
And
I
then
was surprised that you.
so next topic, next weekly catch up corner, because we got to pick up the pace here.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I wanted to talk about March 4th. So
Oh my
friends,
god, hold on. I'm connected to my personal hotspot instead of the actual Wi-Fi in the house.
I'm going to kill you.
I fucking hate myself.
All right.
Mhm.
So let's talk about March 4th. So as
Yep.
we release our podcast last week, I'm on Facebook, and podcasting day is usually kind of an emotional day for me because we're talking about stuff that's important to me. So when we're finished, I look on Facebook and Jackie Withrow. Do you remember Jackie? You probably knew her brother, John.
I remember John. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and I think I loved him.
He seemed like a nice kid.
He was a
Jackie,
wrestler, right?
yeah, he was a wrestler. He went to Pitt. He was a D1 wrestler. So
Oh
fairly good.
yeah.
I think. I don't know. It's been so long, it's hard to remember. But Jackie married her high school sweetheart, Eddie Faircloth.
Mhm. Okay, I remember the name.
Right. So they had a little boy like 26, 27 years ago. Anyway, so he had faced some mental health challenges along the way. And I will let you guys read their story on their Facebook page. But as a result of some of the struggles that he's had, her and Ed have formed this charity, this organization that's going to try to make life better for people who end up needing the services of Western Psych, which is the inpatient facility in downtown Pittsburgh for people who don't live around here. It's where Olivia ended up when she was an inpatient.
I wanted to make sure that we noted it's the place that you talked about in episode 1,
Right,
which was hard to deal with when
right,
you don't know what the fuck's going on.
right. I mean, your children end up here, and it's hard to visit them, and you just don't understand what's happening. And everything that these places are doing is designed for patient safety, but it is also hard to navigate, and it's overwhelming, and you're scared anyway. um, both the people inside and the people coming to visit. So what Jackie and Ed have done is set up this charity that is going to provide crew neck sweatshirts because you're not allowed to wear a hoodie in there, and Crocs because you can't have shoes with ties. So what happens is people end up there in emergency situations and they don't have the right clothes, right? So they're wearing a hoodie or they're wearing shoes with ties, and Western Psych confiscates the hoodies and the shoes with ties and gives you like a hospital gown and some hospital socks to wear. So what the charity is going to do is provide those items that people who need them can have access to them. So I loved it. It touched a very personal part of Olivia's journey and my journey. And so just want to give those guys a shout out. I will post the information on the Facebook page that they put together. So you guys can go and read Jackie and Ed's story. And I'll put the Venmo in there. So you can donate money. And the nice thing about it is that everybody gets something. So Jackie and Ed get the money to take care of these kids that are in Western Psych. And you get a tax write off because it is actually a charitable organization. So there was a lot of work that went into this at a time where Jackie and Ed could have easily just kind of turned it in on themselves, and instead they took what ended up being a terrible situation and turned it into something that can really help out people. So love them. Super proud to say that I went to high school with them.
That's
So
awesome.
let's go. Yeah. What were we? Warriors. Let's go, Warriors.
What were we?
How long ago was it? 50 years.
A very fucking long time ago.
My God. My God. Ugh. All right. So that's all I have to catch up on. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. No.
All right.
I have
Also,
my story about you in the airplane. Are we gonna do a Gaster story or we're at 40 minutes already? Shit.
yeah,
You're
but
gonna have lots of editing to do. We have a
I'm gonna,
decent amount to edit out already.
yeah. So yeah, growing up Gaster story of the week. Do you want to tell your airplane story? And then I will sneak in my commentary on it.
Yeah, I might cry.
Are you chewing?
I'm
Crying?
chewing.
I mean, it's a mental health podcast, so
I cried in the Grand Old Opry.
of course you did. Was it the geese, the long neck geese, the
We
unicorn?
sat down. No, but nothing even started yet. We sat down and Noah looked at me and said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" In the
Aw.
most loving way that he possibly could. And I said, "My dad would love this."
Oh, Jesus.
And he doesn't want to leave the house anymore, so he won't come here.
No, he has lived a full and colored life. He doesn't need the Grand Old Opry. Plus, we're taking him to see Bruce Springsteen. Isn't that enough for God's sake?
We are?
Yeah, August 15th.
Did you buy me a ticket?
Yes.
Fuck. Do I owe you $1,700? Because that's how much
No.
it costs.
No, Jumbo paid. Jumbo paid and we got terrible seats. So,
Fuck yes. All right. Sounds good. What date's that? I need to mark it on my calendar.
August 15th.
Okay. So the flight home, regardless of the Xanax, I don't sleep anymore. Apparently, I need a higher dosage, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. So I won't. Yeah. Anyway, so I couldn't sleep on the plane, but I was Xanaxed up enough that it was kind of okay. And we're landing. It was actually a nice landing in Pittsburgh, which is very odd. It wasn't really windy. The weather was good yesterday. And we're landing at night. So there's lights everywhere.
Oh, pretty.
And I was thinking as we're landing, that my favorite place to land, like, it reminded me of landing in Phoenix at night.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why it reminded me of this. I don't know why any of this came to mind. But then I thought, and yeah, I cried on the plane because I thought my favorite place to land was Phoenix because I missed you so much that I was always so excited to get to Phoenix because I knew that you were going to be at the gate.
Right. At the gate, because
You
that's
were
how
at
long
the
ago.
gate because it was before 9/11. So I'd be so excited to land in Phoenix because one, it really was never a bad landing in Phoenix. And two, just because I was so fucking excited because I hadn't seen you in like months. And it was the coolest thing ever. And that's just what I thought about when we were
Oh,
landing yesterday, that is something that I forgot about, like how excited it made me to see you. And I'm very emotional because I'm back to normal life. Like I have to go back to work tomorrow.
oh.
So there you
Yeah,
have it.
good times. Like Arizona would not have been Arizona if I hadn't been able to share it with you for real. Speaking
Yeah.
of Arizona, I am gonna get to see one Denise Finley next week.
Oh, really? Where are you going to see her?
I have to go to Chicago for work. To be more precise, I have to go to the tiny little suburb where Denise and Bums live now.
Oh, shut up.
I know it's gonna be epic. The last time I saw them, the girls were buying American Girl dolls.
Correct. I was there.
So super excited, super excited. All right. So yes, Arizona would not have been the same if I wouldn't have been able to share it with you.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it
kind
particularly reminded me of landing there on New Year's 1990 when you
of
were picking me up and we were going to one of the funnest parties that I've ever been to in my life.
right with
Where
the luge, with the
we
ice luge.
stole baby Jesus. We had the luge shot where there was vodka and banana shit and going in your mouth. And then I punched a hole through that guy's hat.
He was so proud of that top hat too. Like he was so excited about it, and you were like, "Really?"
Let me see that. And then punched my hand right through it. Anyway, okay. So that's it. That's all I got.
So, kind of along those lines, I was thinking of in this sister relationship, in the story of growing up Gaster, how we could not stand each other, had absolutely no common ground, had a gap of 5 years, which is enough
That
to
was
make
filled with hatred.
right. We don't have the same friends. We don't go in the same circles. Like we don't like the same things.
No.
Nothing about our experience is shared until I leave for college. And then being at college, I'm like, ugh, she's okay, I guess. I mean,
Mhm.
that's I miss fighting with her in a way.
We
So
started writing letters. Do you
right.
remember that?
Yes, I will send you a letter. I will
Mhm.
write down on a piece of paper how I feel, fold it up, write your address on it, take it to
Mhm.
the post office and mail it because we don't have email. And we
And this
won't
is
have
when I discovered that it didn't matter the name you put on the envelope. All it mattered was the address. Like you could write, I don't know, Dickhead, and then
right,
410 Second Avenue. And it made it to me. I was like, wow.
right, whatever fun nickname I would give you.
Right.
Stinky little tooth.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh my, wow, that's amazing. That still came to me and it didn't have my name on it.
It said Stinky Whistletooth because the post office didn't know that Stinky Whistletooth obviously didn't live there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some mental health stuff. So, in the immortal words of every podcaster ever, let's get into it.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, the subtle art of not giving a fuck. So, I read this book years ago, like a lot of years ago, and I can't remember if it was pre or post Olivia breakdown because as I what's what
Post.
it might have been.
Or
Um,
maybe you read it and then told me to read it, but it was the first time you told me to read it, we were already living in this house, and that was post. That's how I tell time which house I was living in.
that's funny because I tell time by which job I had, and I think this was at the very end of my well, the second time I read it was the end of my Viva time, and that was after. Either way, it helped me kind of frame some of the stuff that was going on after Olivia's breakdown. So I think when we talked about it the first time, it was all about just putting one foot in front of the other and trying to get through, like navigating, getting her there to the inpatient, getting her home, and then there was this pandemic and like the whole world collapsed. So we all had to collectively get our shit together after that. And I think it's been like 4 years now, and I'm just starting to kind of recognize the journey, if that makes sense at all. Like it, at the
Yeah.
time, I'm just like, all right, let's do the thing we have to do. We got to get her a therapist. I have to find somebody. Oh, she doesn't like that therapist, so I have to get her another therapist. It's important that she exercises and plays soccer. Also, it's important that I really keep tabs on what's happening with her, but she's a teenager. So I think with her going off to college, I finally kind of had a little bit of time to sit and take a look back at the journey to kind of put not not just the family back together, but myself back together. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
100%.
Like it feels like I didn't realize I was doing it, and there were some things along the way that kind of just make sense now. Like me not wanting to hang out with people, me,
Mhm.
kind of doing some weird and antisocial sort of things, and all part of the journey to pull it all back together. So I feel like now I'm kind of getting to a place where I'm kind of solid again. Like I feel like I know who I am now versus trying to put those pieces back together.
Do
um
you know who you are?
Kind of. I'm kind of feeling like I kind of get it at this point. But we'll talk about that because that's kind of a lifelong journey of knowing who you are and then
Super,
not knowing and then figuring it out all over again. Like you
I'm
go
super
into
jealous.
what's what?
I'm super jealous. But yeah, I think that's the perfect way to say it is I think we find ourselves 1,000 times and again before it's all over.
Right. Like part of the book is about it is about understanding that you're always going to have problems, but you're developing so that you have better problems, not so that you're always arranging things and dealing with a problem, only to be presented with a challenging but better problem.
Mm-hmm.
I originally bought this book because it had the F word on the cover, and I was like, yes, this is going to
Fuck,
be some what's what?
fuck, fuck yes.
Fuck yes. I was like, "Oh, that's got a swear on it. That's so fun." This will be some fluffy self-help thing I can read on the airplane. I can pretend to follow all the things that are gonna make me a better person, and 3 days from now, I will be happier than I was before. Turns out, as I start to get into this book on the airplane, that I'm like, "Oh, I missed the important word on the cover, which was subtle and not fuck."
Yep.
So, um, the premise of the book is that we care too much about stuff that doesn't matter. So, in other words, we give fucks where they aren't deserved, like worrying about morons in traffic or caring about what people think about your fun leather jacket. To give it a throwback to last week. So, what you really need to do is care about the stuff that's really important and not give any fucks at all about the stuff that isn't. So, like the PTA mom is a bit of a dick, and that doesn't matter because I don't really care what she's doing. Good for her for being the best at managing all of the things. I'm not that guy. I'm never going to be that guy, and I don't necessarily want to be that guy. Here's the subtle part. How do you know what to give a fuck about? Like, how do you know? It's not about that asshole PTA lady. Then how do I figure it out? If it's not that, what is it? And it gets back to the stuff we touched on last week with the FOPO. It's about values and purpose. So remember last week when we were talking about values and purpose?
Mm-hmm.
If your value is based on being the one that rules the PTA, then you give a lot of fucks about that lady who's also trying to run the PTA. You're constantly in that kind of performance mindset instead of the purpose mindset. You're constantly competing with her. And it's kind of a hard way to measure success. I have to be the best PTA mom, or else I'm not really happy with my life. Um, so you're constantly failing because that's just a hard way to achieve success. Does that make sense?
It,
It does.
mhm.
And that's
I
the
wish it
subtle
was that
part.
simple. I wish it was that simple.
That's the subtle
But
part, right?
mhm, right.
Like, if your value is raising a decent kid and being active and present in their life, and it doesn't have anything to do with being the best at the PTA, then you don't need to give a fuck that Stacy wants to make me feel like an asshole because I bought cookies at Walmart and brought them for the sale. Like, I don't have to give
Stacy's
a fuck
mom.
about that, right?
Stacy's
Stacy
mom's
is
a real bitch.
right. Stacy. Oh, I'm sorry, Stacy. I didn't bake any cookies for your stupid cookie sale. Here's some stuff I bought at Walmart because what I care about fundamentally is being here for my kid and not necessarily volunteering and doing everything that everybody thinks that I should. Does
Right.
that and once you put it like that, it kind of clears a lot of things up. I think the hard part, the subtle part, is deciding how to come by those values, right? And having enough clarity and space to be like, I don't have to give a shit about how many snacks I brought, or I don't have to give a shit about me not being the best soccer coach for the 5 year olds. Like, what I have to give a shit about is being here because I like to play soccer and I like to work with these kids.
In the small amount that I read, I think like the biggest, or not the biggest part of it, but the first step of it is accepting that there's shit wrong with you, there's shit wrong with all of us,
Mhm.
but how we're gonna deal with all of that and not be obsessed with it. So you feel like shit for even 5 minutes. You're bombarded with 350 images of people. So you're on social media.
Right.
Oh, here, I'm gonna start it again. Sorry, you can edit. Back in grandpa's day, he would feel like shit and think to himself, gee whiz, I sure do feel like a cow turd today. But hey, I guess that's life. Back to shoveling shit. But now, if you feel like that for even 5 minutes, you're bombarded with 350 images of people totally happy and having amazing fucking lives. And it's impossible not to feel like there's something wrong with you. First of all, those people are mostly liars. Second of all, it's the last part. It's there's something wrong with you that gets us into trouble. We feel bad about feeling bad. We feel guilty about feeling guilty. We
Right.
get angry about getting angry, and we get anxious about feeling anxious. And we end up with, what is wrong with me?
Right.
And that's something that resonated with me because I do that all the time. How many times do I get into one of my funks and talk to you and say, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I sad? Why am I sad? I'm constantly questioning and feeling guilty because I'm sad. And then getting even more anxious because I am anxious. This is why not giving a fuck is so key. This is why it's going to save the world. And it's going to save it by accepting that the world is totally fucked and that's all right because it's always been that way and it always will be. By
Right.
not giving a fuck that you feel bad, you short circuit that feedback loop from hell and say to yourself, I feel like shit, but who gives a fuck?
Right. I mean, that is it. That is such a key part in this book. And the tie-in to feeling bad is an emotion, right? Feeling bad is an emotion. You're going to have a ton of emotions every single day, and you can't be ruled by your emotions. Yeah, I feel like shit. Last week when I was so into Twitter because of my ADD mistake that I made. Yeah, that sucked and it made me feel bad, but understanding that that's not everything that I am. That is not all of how I judge myself. And Liv and I were talking about this yesterday because we were struggling getting our taxes filed, both of us, because
Wait, hold the fuck on. You were just filing your taxes yesterday?
yeah, I always do them at the last minute because I always owe money and I don't want to pay any more than I have to. Like, I don't want Uncle Sam to have the money and make the interest. I would rather have the money and earn the interest. So I always wait till the 15th. Right. Anyway, so we were struggling to get this done. And I think there was something that happened with Olivia's where there was some identity theft thing happened. But anyway, I can't file her taxes because apparently the IRS sent me a PIN number for her and I didn't keep it in a place that was conducive for keeping these things that are really, really important because I am who I am, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
So
tracked.
Olivia's like, and Olivia slept in and missed a class. So she was like, the self hatred is so strong. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, I hate myself right now because I have created this problem. But in the end of the day, we solved the problem and we moved on and we learned some lessons from it. But we are not defined by these things that these mistakes that we made. Like,
And that's the hard part of it, is being able to, like, reading that section of that book and like reading it is like, oh yeah, yeah, that fucking makes sense. But
living
being in that moment and hating your fucking self for being an idiot and being able to get yourself out of that and not give a fuck about doing that thing that you did and figuring it out and moving forward,
yeah.
that's the big challenge of it.
So again, going back to Dan Harris and going back to Dan Harris's obsession with meditation, part of what you learn when you're meditating, I think, according to the stuff I'm reading about meditation, is
I'll tell you pretty soon because I'm gonna read it.
is the ability to understand and recognize that emotion. Wow, this emotion blows. This is not a life defining emotion. I am going to have roughly, if you're me, 947 other emotions in the next 30 seconds. So this one doesn't have to define me. It can ruin my day. That's fine because some days are just ruined. Also fine. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to start all over again. I'm going to learn a lesson if I need to learn a lesson. I'm going to change behavior if I need to change behavior and move on from there. And a lot of what you do in meditation is have thoughts, and you're like, oh, hey, thought, nice to see you here in my brain. Um, Off you go. And the thought just kind of wanders off, and then you focus on your breathing again. Right. So
Like,
maybe
were
there's the
you
connection.
sorry, the latest Jan Harris podcast with his brother, a big part of it is realizing that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts don't
Right.
define you. Like, they're allowed, like, do, bye.
Right. And again, it goes back to not having a frame of reference for this stuff. Like, this is
Mhm.
all shocking and eye-opening, and maybe there are people out there who get to learn this stuff when they're in kindergarten. Those people aren't me, those people aren't you. I don't.
Dan Harris's brother is actually one of them. Like, I mean, he's doing the meditation now and like learning quite a bit, but he's always been one of those kids who's
Meh,
like he just kind of understands that those thoughts aren't driving him.
they don't teach us this stuff in high school. Like, we got French Revolution out the ass. Great.
Yeah, we got a bunch of shit that is no longer in my brain.
Right. How to determine what's important in my life and what my values are, what
Mhm.
my purpose is. No, none of that. None of
Nor
that.
did they tell me, nor did they teach me how to like take care of finances and shit.
Yeah, yeah, nor nobody said when the IRS sends you something in the mail, put it in a folder that says stuff the IRS
Yeah.
sent you so you can find it later.
Yep, yep. Nobody said, "Hey, you know what you should learn how to do now? Make a budget."
Taxes.
Yep.
Boring.
Nope. No,
Uh,
you know what they did teach me? Shorthand.
typing. Thank God I can type.
Fucking shorthand. Hey, all you ladies, get into this secretary class.
We're gonna teach you bitches shorthand.
And I was in high school in the fucking 90s, man.
Right, I had typing. Typing!
What in the fuck did I? Oh, I had typing in junior high. Like we had to go in and take the plastic cover off the
Right,
typewriter,
right, with an actual fucking typewriter that made tick, tick, tick,
and it
tick,
had the
tick, 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 tick,
ching.
tick, 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 ting.
I don't understand. I don't think it's really all that much better these days either. I do hear they're going to start teaching cursive again if they haven't already done that.
Well, I mean, if we don't need it, why bother?
Well, that's what I say. Well, it's all the old people in the world. Sorry, old folks, or sorry, people who support the whole cursive thing.
What's up, boomers?
I don't think my kid being able to sign a check is worth a whole class. I mean,
Scribble.
you know how to make an O, you know how to make an L, just scribble them.
Right,
That simple. Anyway, okay, sorry, I digress.
right, right. But the fact that this stuff is hard kind of brings us back to the philosophy of jumbo, your values and figuring out what's important. The philosophy of jumbo comes in
Oh
here,
yeah,
and not moving past no one gives a shit about you to if it was easy, everybody would do it.
right.
So if it was easy, people would be a lot more chill. People
Uh-huh.
would be a lot friendlier. People would be a lot more connected to each other because we wouldn't be so worried about competing and winning. We would be able to understand, hey, what's important to me isn't necessarily what's important to you.
Ding, 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 ding. Hello. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We don't always have to agree on fucking everything. And it's okay. We don't have to fight about it either.
Mm-mm.
We can be nice, kind, human, decent human fucking beings without being dicks to each other because we don't believe in the same exact tiny little things at all fucking times.
Right, right.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it turns out most of the rest of the book beyond the 17 pages you have read talks about talks about how we find our place in the world.
Hold on, time out. We're eventually going to put these on YouTube. I forgot.
Right. You're
Well,
fine. People are gonna know you vape.
I felt like I really needed it today.
It's probably the Xanax.
Normally, I don't do the vaping unless I'm taking the dog out.
Oh my god. So anyway, I think that through the rest of our podcast, we are going to kind of touch on a lot of the things that my man Mark Manson kind of brings up.
I I don't know where it is in the fucking book. I did mark little sections, but in the 17 pages. But I like when he talks about like self-help shit just making things worse.
Right. Huh.
This isn't what I was saying, but a great thing here. The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, did I
Right.
say that right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
said I said a big word. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience.
Right.
This is a total mind fuck. So I'll give you a minute to pretzel your brain and read it again. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience. Accepting negative experience is a positive experience. That is a total mind fuck.
Well, think
And I'm only 17 pages in, so my brain is still super pretzeled with it.
exactly. I picked up this book because it was orange and had fuck on the front of it. And now all of a sudden I'm dealing with philosophical truths thinking it is this fluffy, and it's not. It is like a serious philosophical book. Like I'm 17 pages in going, "Oh my god, I'm going to have to get a notebook
Yeah.
and
That's
write some shit down."
actually what page is this? Okay. Well, that's only 9, but I believe
Right.
at that point I was like, I don't think the airport on the Xanax is really the best place for me to be reading this. There is way more in here for me to digest.
Right.
Like you said, yeah, it's a quick, easy read. I don't feel like that's the truth. I feel like I need to, yeah. I feel like what we need to do is I think I might need to read this one and we might need I don't know, because I feel like we were planning on next week. I was going to talk a little bit more about the first rule of mastery, stop worrying about what people think of you,
Yeah.
or maybe start talking about meditation. But I feel like it's too much. Like I need to focus on one thing. There's too many things.
They all tie in together. So pick an order and we'll just do that. Like
Because
this book has a lot of layers, right? Like the negative being the positive. I mean, I think that is the whole crux of the whole thing is that you cannot avoid the bad feelings. Like you cannot avoid having negative emotions because emotions are just that. And then the rest of it is how we deal with it. It's the stop worrying about what people are thinking about you. It's the meditation. And we can come back to these sort of foundational pieces that each of us has found and talk about, how do we do this hard work? Yeah, it's hard work, but how do we do it? Like, do you do it just by thinking about it on your weekly podcast? Do you do it by giving meditation a try, which I did twice this week?
how'd that go for you?
I don't, I think the trick is no one tells you if you're doing it right.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
the hard part. Like, I am literally just sitting here breathing, and the guy is guiding the meditation, and he's quiet for like a minute. And I'm like, opening up my eye, checking my phone. I'm like, nope, apparently this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Look at me. Yeah, I haven't tried it because I think it scares the fuck out of me. Like, I think there is a ton of benefit to it. And I do really think for someone like me and my mind that it would be really good. But I also have the inability to, no, it's not the inability to sit still because I can sit still and read a book for hours on end.
I can sit
But
still.
again, that book is about fairies and vampires and werewolves and shit.
Right.
So it's a discipline. And I'm
Right.
not good at disciplined things here historically. I think, and that's kind of my fear of it. But I think that that's a fear that like I really deeply want to address. And
Yeah.
I just need to do it.
I think we
And
just
I
tackle this
think
on. We just sit down and we give it a go. Am I doing it right? No one gives a shit. No one cares because no one's looking at you. Are you doing it
but I
right?
think that
And
that's kind of what we had touched upon last week when I was talking about the podcast with Michael Gervais and Dan Harris. Like that's a great intro to what Michael has to say in his book. And there's so many more deeper things in there. So we want to eventually get there. And these are just kind of two things that are saying this is what grabbed our attention.
right.
And we're going to get into it deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because we're gonna the wider we talk about these topics, I think what we're gonna find is the deeper we end up going. So yeah, there's a common theme in here that meditation probably helps in dealing with the negative emotions. But it's also that we can't not deal with those negative emotions because you need to find out who you really are. And in order to do that hard work, you got to get through some of this other stuff. So I think even though we're not like, I'm not going to give you every single detail about the subtle art of not giving a fuck. I will give you the link to go and buy that or, go and do a little bit of research on your own. And you can listen along with us. while we try to figure it out and come back to like the same things. Like, how do we get to be better people, or not even better people? How do we get to accept the people that we are? Like, how do we get to the point where I'm not like calling myself a dumbass because I thought I was a dumbass, and not getting into that kind of circle?
There was something in those first 17 pages that said something about that, and I thought of you. I was like, wow, perfect. We talked about that. You actually did that exact thing on the
Right,
podcast last week. That's
right,
great.
right,
And I think it's really important. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and be selfish. Shocker. But I think that I've I've listened to a podcast here and there. I've read the intro to a few books. I've read the back of a few books, and these are all things that really interest me, and that I want to get deeper into. But I have a really hard time doing that myself.
right.
Like, I can read all the words and be like, yeah, that totally makes sense. But I kind of feel you're gonna love this. Kind of feel like it's Weight Watchers. Like, I need some accountability. Like, I need to get weighed in. Like, I need to talk about what I should be doing and things that are going to help me find the purpose.
Yeah.
Um, Without just me reading and writing something that sounds fluffy and sounds good, but someone who's going to push me a little bit further, and that's going to be you and maybe anybody else that wants to listen, to help me build that and be a better person.
Right. So, guys, gastergirls@gmail.com, and you tell Sarah what she needs to do to get her shit together.
And shout out to my friend Misty, who sent us the first email,
Yay!
first fan email. Love you, Misty. Send
Love
us another
it.
one after this just to say you love us too.
Yeah, and I think that kind of wraps up most of what I wanted to talk about right now about the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And I know we had ADHD 2.0 on there, just some common themes that came up while I was reading that one this week. Um, Looking at making connections, and again, you can't make connections with people if you aren't sure who you are as a person. So it is
That's
one of the things that is recommended for people that have ADHD, is to make connections with people, and not necessarily people like you, just having an understanding or a place to share some group thoughts. And maybe that's what this is a place for you and I to do the work that we need to do, and make some people laugh along the way, because hard things are met in our family with nothing but laughter and self-deprecating humor.
We try. We do.
Right.
We really, really try.
All right, what are we doing next week?
My plan was to read the Michael Gervais book this week and then deep dive into that. But I think I'm just gonna stick with the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And where did I get to? What's 17? There was a point there. To not give a fuck about adversity, you must first give a fuck about something more important than adversity.
Right. What am I willing to suffer for? This is a cool Buddhist principle, by the way.
So you could probably edit this part out, but is Buddhism like a religion, or what is it to be Buddhist?
If you think for a second I'm going to edit that out, you don't know anything about me. Oh, and you froze like that. So awesome. So
Can you
awesome.
hear me? Can
Now,
you hear me?
yes, Buddhism is a religion, also a philosophy.
See, I guess that's where I get confused with like philosophy, religion. Like, so if is Buddha a god?
Like Muhammad, like
Who's Muhammad? I don't know. Isn't he a boxer?
that's Muhammad Ali. Why are you Travis Kelsey right now? Why? Right.
About Buddhism at all. So I guess I'm going to learn about it.
Yep.
I guess I just didn't know if it was like a philosophy. If like, do we go to church as a Buddhist?
You
Do
go
you?
There are temples, there are monks.
Oh, is that what a monk is?
Some are Buddhist monks.
Shit, I don't know about.
Right. Gastergirls@gmail.com. So explain what a monk and whether Buddha is a god.
Do you know if Buddha's a god? Is Buddha a god?
I don't think he's a god. I'm
Is
I
he the one?
I
Is
had
he the one
world
that sits?
religions 30 years ago.
Is he the one that sits like this?
Hey, little chubby guy in a robe.
Does he sit like this, or was that Grand Master?
That's taekwondo, which is definitely not a religion, but might be a cult.
I wish I was kidding. Like I'm not a super dumb person. There are just things in the world that I haven't given two fucks about my whole life. Subtle art of not giving a fuck. And Buddhism is one thing that where I never really cared to learn anything else about.
The good
And
is
geography.
the good news is we require neither knowledge of geography or knowledge of Buddha to understand that the only way to happiness is through this suffering, right? Like we don't need to fully comprehend that's a religion or a philosophy or whatever it is, other than the fact that it seems like a path forward. And it seems like a way to get through troubling things that are happening to you. Do you know what I mean? So I would not worry too much.
Preach, sister, preach.
I would not worry too much about whether it's a religion unless somebody starts asking you for money.
Yeah, that's I'm not giving anybody fucking money. Are you
Right.
kidding me? The one thing in the Dan Harris podcast with his brother, his brother gets a lot. His brother's only been doing this shit like the meditation for a year, and he was getting more into like the more philosophical, like the Buddhist shit and all of that. And Dan Harris was like, "Wow, I didn't get into any of that shit for like 10 years." So that made me feel better. Like there's basics that I can start with. Like I don't have to understand all about
Yeah.
the Buddhist shit right this second in order to start learning how to meditate.
Yeah.
And
Again,
I don't actually have to get into any of that ever to learn how to meditate, truly.
no, no, and we don't have to fully embrace and go step by step through anybody's program, I think, which is the part of figuring out what you wanna give a fuck about. Like, do I give a fuck whether it's a philosophy or a religion? Not really. Do I care that maybe sitting down and meditating might make me able to focus a little bit more on stuff that's important to me? Yeah, I mean, I care about that a great deal. So maybe that's fundamentally the question that you and I need to answer together.
Hey, sorry, I stopped listening to that last thought like 30 seconds ago because I got sidetracked. You're not on the Insta, are you?
No, but I probably should be on the Insta.
You definitely should get on the Insta, but
Is the mental funny bone on the Insta? Because we should probably work on that.
we need to do some socials. But I think that was on the list from May. On the Insta, you should actually I've told you to follow her and find her. She's probably on Facebook. Jamie, the very worst missionary. For mental purposes, especially when you're talking about dealing with children who are battling mental struggles.
Oh, that's how we got.
So you should check her out because number one, she's funny as fuck. And number two, she's got some good stuff to share.
Sweet. All right. What do you say we wrap it up so you can go do your laundry and get back to reality? We're at an hour and a half, which feels like a lot of content and
Yeah,
a
but
lot
there
of
was a
editing.
good like 15 minutes that I went off on some shit that I know that you're not going to keep in
I think that was like 2 minutes.
there. Hmm.
There's a lot of editing for me to do, and now I have an hour and a half of editing to do, but I'm excited about it. Again, I will throw this out there. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about meditation and we'll get a little bit more into the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
And please share the March 4th Facebook page.
Oh, yeah, I will definitely figure out how to add things to show notes if just to get a couple of more people to throw some money their way. Yeah, that was a really heart touching thing for me last week. So I am happy to pass that along and I wish Jackie and Ed the very very best. And I'll throw this out there in case they listen. If there's ever anything we can do to help you out, just hit up the Gastro Girls and we would be more than happy to walk over broken glass if you guys need something.
Broken glass is a lot. That hurts.
I mean, I'll do it. You don't have to.
Okay. I mean, I'll be there to support you.
Great. You'll hold my hand. All right.
Or
Great. Come on.
you're the worst. Okay. Love you.
I love you too. Take care of yourself. Take care of everybody else. And we will talk to you all next week.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.